Hello fellow pilots, I'm Major Payne and this is another episode of Dogfights. In this episode I will talk about player focusing tactic and counter tactic. But hold on a second, something's missing here. Something's not right. Yes, of course, intro, guys. um, how nice is European server compared to a USA server? That's hilarious if you watched previous episode. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, let's get back to the business. And first topic, focusing players tactic. Some players call it as well headhunting, but I prefer focusing players. So how does this works? Basically, we're aiming to take out the most valuable, most experienced player in a game, which do most in enemy team basically. So there are two basic rules to follow if you want to implement this tactic in a battle. So first thing first, you have to ask yourself a question: is your plane is better in terms of taking over sectors? So in a battle, you see in the background, enemy have P-36 specialized light fighter tier 4, and I'm in a BF-109B, which is not specialized. So basically, if you compare those two planes, you can quickly come to the conclusion that they can take over sectors more or less at the same rate, yeah? So basically, P-36 shouldn't be focusing BF-109B, at least not before the square line, yeah? So second rule is important. Ask yourself another question: can you actually win the dogfight with this particular player, yeah, that you are about to focus? So basically, if you don't win the dogfight, then you put yourself and your team into the very bad position, very often beyond the recovery basically. So in this case here, we just kill each other, but that's not gonna give anything to my enemy because I already captured the sector, so that's just pointless now. We just get back to the game in a moment with full HP. So yeah, it's very important to be fully confident that you can take out the enemy in a dogfight, because otherwise it's just huge risk, huge waste of time. If you get killed in a dogfight, this is catastrophe because you're not capturing sector, enemy is still alive and he's still capturing sector. So this is just huge step back. So sometimes it's much better just to focus on capturing sectors. Even if the enemy plane can do it a little bit faster, you may also like drag this game into the square line and give a try in a square line and turn the table in a square line. You can also have good teammates which gonna cap sectors also, and that's not needed if the enemy plane is capturing sectors just a little bit faster. That's not significant if you have your teammates which can do the same. So you just stay focused on capturing sectors, and that will do for the win. So what I have here, you see, this is great example, yeah. So this time, just straight from the spawn point, the enemy plane just came in and tried to kill me, but that didn't work out. This dogfight head-on attack didn't work out. So I stay in the battle, heavily damaged, but I still working, I still defending sector. I'm gaining capture points in defense. So this is perfect example basically. If someone's flying after you and he get killed, this is like huge step back for enemy team, and a huge boost for my team. we have planes in a game which are almost like designed to do this role, to be a dogfighter in taking out enemy players. And that's the best contribution that these machines can deliver, because they have such a little firepower that they're gonna struggle to take over sectors. They're never gonna be equal with other light fighters in role of capturing sectors. So basically players in those machines have to implement this tactic to be effective. So, like, good example will be HE-100, a tier 5 light fighter, which is very maneuverable, very fast, high altitude, but they don't only have like 3 machine guns, which is very funny almost. Another one is ME-209V4, the same, very fast plane, high altitude, but very little firepower. On tier 7, Yak-3RD, this is perfect example. This is highly maneuverable plane, very fast, but with only one 23mm cannon. And again, Peter 6 is chasing me straight from his rest point, and I'm gonna drag him here to my rest point, where I'm gonna ask my team for help, because I'm very low on HP, so I cannot go head on and into the dogfight, because that's not gonna end well. Now, the enemy team is also very good here. They're gonna capture this command center in a moment, and then after that they're gonna capture very quickly this garrison in the far end. So they're very good at capturing sectors, and Peter 6 basically here wasting time, but he also wastes my time, to be honest. Like, you know, I'm not capturing sectors now, but in the end I always have upper hands, because when I win the engagement, like I did one-on-one, then and I stay alive, then I'm doing capture points. That's obviously huge advantage and big blow for the enemy. But even when we kill each other, let's say, yeah, then still I'm in advantage, because when I reborn in next 15 seconds, something like that, then I'm gonna go for some sector. He don't know exactly where I'm going, and he have to look for me, and he wastes much more time. So I'm doing something, and in this time, Peter the 6 is wasting time, basically. Yeah? So this is an end of this long dogfight. And there's another example. Yeah, I'm in a battle already, I'm doing something, and he's just wasting time to look for me, and then we kill each other, but I'm winning here anyway. So making long story short, this is example how not to focus player, because that's not the way. And I just simply have much more capture points. And in case someone don't know, capture points for defending sectors can only be seen in a hangar after the battle. In a game, in a battle, you can only see in light fighter capture points received for capturing sectors, basically. And this is another example I want to show you. This is very interesting. Like, I'm an American server here with my friend Blab, and he's in a Horton. I'm flying the bomber Tu-10, and we are up against 2 specialized P-61s. But what those guys doing, I've been told at least one of them is really, really good, like 5th place in a Hall of Fame, I heard. But it's just mind-blowing to me that they chasing the Horton together, and even though, like, it's obviously that Horton is much faster than P-61. P-61 are very slow, heavy fighters. And in the same time, I'm just capturing the factory 1, and then I'm gonna go capture another factory, and basically for the entire of this battle, I'm not gonna be countered by any of these P-61. So basically I'm flying bomber, and P-61 is, if not the best, is one of the best heavy fighter to counter Tu-10 and take out the Tu-10. But those guys doesn't bother to go to the factory, basically, which is just very surprising to me. Like, you know, at least one of them should go to defend the factory or help his bots to take over another factory and that kind of stuff. But I noticed that I'm guessing here that players sometimes thinking, okay, I'm not a bomber, so I'm not gonna go to the factory, or something like that is going on, because that's make no sense to me, not to leave me alone and just 2 players chasing Horton, which is very difficult. It's almost next to impossible to chase him down in a P-61. Basically, it's too fast. The plane is too fast. High altitude, fast light fighter. And then, like, players are surprised why they're losing, and they giving out. They trash talk on the chat or stuff like this. So basically, this is example how not to headhunt anyone. Like, this is very bad. You just simply give away the win. They give us win for free, like free win for me. I'm flying bomber, not been even once countered by any of this heavy fighter. And that's what's supposed to happen here. And of course, in the end, blaming competition starts. So whose fault is that? Of course it's Blab. He didn't allow the enemy to chase him down and kill him, so that's his fault. Okay, I'm gonna leave that without the comment, and now we are gonna move to another topic of this video, main topic of this video, which is counter tactic, and how to perform this tactic, and what's the most often mistakes we do. I'm gonna use the battle up against NobleQ, which I ran into, and he's streaming, so that's great opportunity to see his perspective. So basically I have a video on YouTube already in 2022 about counter tactic and player focusing, but I always wanted to add something extra about how bots in a game perform this tactic, because they do. It's surprising, but they do. And I'm gonna show you that in a moment, but first let's listen to what I was talking about back in the day about counter tactic, because nothing changed since then. We have rocket base. There is enemy rocket base, which is close to the enemy rest point, and we have rocket base on our right. So what we are going to do here, we're going to cross the map straight to that rocket base, and we check the composition of the team to take a look who's playing on enemy side, and we know that there is a human player in a bomber, there is human player in a ground attacker, so most likely we are not going to be able to get even to this rocket base before it's going to be flip over. But anyway, we go there because we are playing in a multi-role fighter, a tier 10 British Hawker Hunter, and he have a lot of rockets and 2 bombs, of course, and huge armament. So this is the plane which can actually take any sector by himself. So because of we flying in this plane, we can actually go there. Even if the enemy will take over this rocket base, we should be able to retake it quickly. So that's the whole point. If I would be playing in like heavy fighter, I wouldn't go here. That would be a waste of time, because if I go here with a heavy fighter and this rocket base is, as you see, taken over, so now I have like maximum 2 bombs if it's XF90 or Messerschmitt, and 2 bombs will not do, and it's not enough to take over this sector. So as you heard, the main thing here is to calculate, are we going to be able to stop enemy from take over the sector, or will we be able to recapture if enemy will take over the sector? I always advise that if there are human players in the bombers, I wouldn't go for this counter tactic. I wouldn't go across the map for a factory if there is a player in a bomber, because they're gonna take it too quickly for me to stop them, and if I don't have enough rockets and bombs, then this is huge waste of time and step back from my team. Before I was making a video on YouTube, I actually thought that I create this tactic myself, but it's not true. It turned out that bots in a game can perform this tactic, which you can see now on training room on the background. So I want to show you a couple of these training rooms, and you can see bots are going across the map for rocket base, not the one close to our rest point, the one which is close to enemy rest point. So you see that now. There is heavy fighter and multi-role fighter heading to the enemy rocket base, and you can see also on minimap now the enemy heavy fighter just entered the airspace over the rocket base close to my rest point. So bots are doing that. We all see that in the battles, but we just somehow forget about this, and this is very important. So basically, when we know that on this rocket base gonna be 2 heavy fighters, then even light fighter can go here and help to take it over, yeah? Because we're gonna have the bots here. It's not only 2 air defense which are all over the rocket base. We are also going to expect here enemy planes. I'm gonna show you 2 more examples, but there are of course more maps, and you can go into training room, filled up both sides with bots, and you can take a look yourself how the bots are actually flying which direction. So this is significant, as you can take a look here. There's 2 rocket base and 2 garrisons on this map, and bots are not going to the closest sectors only. They also go into a rocket base which is close to enemy rest point to interfere into, like, you know, not allowed enemy to take over that, which is great tactic, and this is basically what I call counter tactic. I used to call that once bold tactic, but I just couldn't come up with any name for it. And I know that NobleQ watched my videos, because in one of his streams he literally said, oh, you can also do this, go there, and it's called bold tactic. He said that was a good while ago, but yeah, so I know that he's watching my video, which is great, but maybe he didn't understand completely this tactic, or I don't know, but he's making that kind of mistake. He's going to the sector which he won't be able to recapture by himself. So he can only take it if he gonna get there on time and take out the enemy planes. And if there's a human player in a bomber, he's not gonna allow for that. He's literally, bomber player can fly on one pass, take over this rocket base and keep flying for another sector. The same with mining plant. So basically it's just pointless if we go across the map to do this counter tactic. If there is a human player, of course we cannot be sure. Some players are beginners, another one are more experienced. So if it's a beginner on a bomber, of course he may not take over that quickly this mining plants, for example, and we manage to get there on time, yeah, of course, but we don't know that in the beginning of the battle. We can't risk that much. Okay, let's get back to this battle, which I want to show you. So pay attention how the game direct me. Also game trying to give you idea how to play. So I have a few light fighters in my team. So some of the light fighters I directed into this airfield in the middle. Some of them going, some bots and players going to the garrison, and another ones, of course, player in a bomber going to the factory. And I'm heading to the garrison, which is close to the enemy rest point, which is interesting. And now what I'm doing here is I'm gaining altitude, which is common problem that players forget about keeping the altitude, like they're not using this advantage. So there is Noble, but there is a small problem. He's on low altitude compared to my one, definitely not on his optimum. And now he's going into the climb, so he wants to engage me, but he's in a climb, so he's not fast enough. And very rarely heavy fighter can take out the light fighter on one pass. And at this point he literally barely hit anything on me. And now I'm just behind him because I'm much faster now. He doesn't have that speed, so altitude is very important. So this high energy state is very important in that kind of engagements. We shouldn't be on low altitude and then climb into the light fighter. That should be another other way around. And now let's take a look how Noble's seeing this.
Thing to try and do, but if any heavy at tier 4 can do this, it's this one. Wouldn't do in the Blenheim. In the Blenheim I'd be straight off to our own plants. Okay. Let's see what we find here. Have they got a bomb? I didn't think so. Surprised. Okay, so Major Payne has correctly guessed what I would be up to, but that's no surprise, he knows what I'm doing. So we'll now go here.
I didn't guess that. I just go into the garrison, but I saw that the airstrip in the middle is still not been taken over, despite that beside me there is another BF-109, there's E-17 and Spitfire in my team, so I was thinking that something's not right here, and that airstrip needed help. And this is a very helpful position, because that rest point in the middle of the map can be very useful. And now I head straight for the enemy factory. And, well, because I get a little bit greedy, and I think that I can stop enemy from taking over. That's the hard truth. So I'm overconfident, and I'm going here to. That's pretty common in my gameplays. Like, this is very common behaviors, like very bold. But so far it's going very well. I almost get this guy, and I would have him, but Noble correctly decided to defend this factory or help his team to take over. And that's what happened. And of course there are two other of my teammates here, so it's not that like Noble thing that I came in here just to headhunt him, because then what those other two players doing here, come on, that's not the case.
He's probably watching the stream as well, which is something he tends to do, so he can stream snipe. And as you can see, he's come straight over here immediately.
Like, seriously, it's looked like I don't even see you here. That's the surprise.
Unfortunately, because he's that type of player, he's donated his hit points and has to take the plant. But we're in trouble here.
Indeed, he is in trouble, but mainly because he wastes so much time in the beginning of this battle. He gained nothing. Now I'm reborn, and straight away I'm pointed straight at the NobleQ, and I see what he's doing. He's going into the garrison, which is only on 60 capture points, so I just take simple tactical decision to go there and defend it. and not to headhunt as he gonna think. So this is not headhunting, this is tactical decision to defend the sectors in order to win the battle. And this is it. Now everything's go very well. We have 4 sectors, enemy have 1, which is brilliant. We kill this air defense, sorry, not air defense, ground attacker on the way, just to restore another 40 capture points for this garrison, and then I can focus on something else. But let's take a look how the NobleQ actually see this engagement.
Do what we can, whilst we can. Major Pain will just headhunt me ceaselessly because my existence is an anathema and a pain to him. So he'll spend his entire battle now trying to find me and shoot me down. And he'll do that whether or not his team is losing. Very immature individual.
And again, he couldn't be more wrong, because to the end of this battle we're not gonna see each other, we're not gonna have any engagement. My main concern at this point is not to allow the enemy bomber PE2 to get through my factory. That's my main concern. This player in tier 5 bomber is the biggest problem for me now. He can single-handedly, of course, take over the factory, but I can see him here approaching the airstrip, so we're gonna stop him easily. I guess he have a plan just to drop the bombs and go through the airfield and straight for the factory, but this is very risky, and that's how that's gonna end. It's like very bold idea if that's what he tried to do. He could of course go somewhere on the side of the map, and that was my main concern, that I'm not gonna spot him, nobody will spot him, and I wouldn't know where is he, and then he suddenly pop up on the factory and will take over. And in the same time, of course, NobleQ could start capturing some other sectors, but as it's turned out, that's not the case. NobleQ decided to set up his camping over the factory, and he just leave everything in the hand of the bomber pilot. And let's take a lesson how NobleQ is actually seeing this situation now.
I think we're going to have to defend the plant. Be interested to see if Major Pain turns up here.
Interesting to me is how psychological effect of being shot down twice kicks in now, and Noble is like in full defense mode now.
Okay, the PE2's, assuming that's the PE2, he's been over there a long time, but he's done very little. There's not much I can do about that. All I can do is hold down this plant, gradually rack up a few kills, and hope that my team can do something with another sector.
Yes, so Noble left the game in the hand of his team, and he decided to stay on one sector, which we can technically call as an overcommitment to the sector. Basically, he's defending the sector, which of course is good when the human player is getting there, but it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna win the battle. There's no chance for that. Yeah, so time to sum up everything, guys. So focusing player is a tactic which we can implement only sometimes when there is a situation where the enemy have plane which is much better in capturing sectors, and our plane is much better in dogfight with this particular plane. Example would be like BF109K6 and the Yak 3RD. So player in Yak should focus the player in BF109K6, because the Yak couldn't do sectors as quick as K6, but instead he can counter K6 and keep him in bay, you know, keep him away from the most important sectors, that kind of stuff. It's very difficult, but that's the way Yak theory actually is designed for that. With one cannon, what else he can do? He literally have to be a like headhunter, basically. Counter tactic is pretty much the same. You can't implement that in every single battle. You have to be very careful with it, and you have to analyze the composition of the team carefully, because that can literally cause you lost game. If you make mistake in the beginning like that, that's lost game. And we're going to the end of this video now, but guys, if you have any proper name for this tactic, leave me a comment, because this is basically something where I come up with. First I come up with name ball tactic, then is counter tactic. I'm trying to translate that from Polish, which is, in Polish that's just simply a kontra. But in English, I just can't find the proper name for this tactic. And if you have any better idea than counter tactic, then leave me a shout in the comment section. I'd be appreciated, because this is really, that doesn't sound right to me. Like, anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it useful and funny and informative, and you can learn something from this, specifically about the bots, how they conduct the tactic, basically, because they're not straight going to the closest sectors. They go in couple different directions, which is very interesting, and I hope you guys gonna found it useful. And if so, please leave me a like and subscribe for future content. And guys, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Take care.
Unfortunately, as I say, Major Payne is an experienced player.